Metro automatically comes with 2 airbags and a tiny little price tag. All you have to tell us is 2 doors or 4. The newest Geo, Metro. Now big ideas come in 2 small sizes.
The ending.
He loved Camilla more than any woman, before or since.
This is member-supported Georgia Public Television, a 9-station network serving all of Georgia. GPTV, bringing you the best.
Next on Newton's Apple.
An aircraft carrier might look small while you're up in the air trying to land on one, but standing here on the deck, it's a completely different story. This is really a floating city.
Where are we? Well, from the looks of things, I'd say we're somewhere in the cortex of the brain.
Newton's Apple is made possible by a grant from 3M, the company where creative people find ways to make our world even better. 3M, innovation. Welcome to Newton's Apple, the show that answers your questions about science, nature, technology, and the world around you. Here's your host, David Heil.
This is the one right here, the top one. Oh, you think things are hectic around here? Wait until you see our very first story. Thanks. It really involves controlled chaos and aviation. Gretchen Craigness, she's a viewer from the Bronx, New York, wondered how pilots land on aircraft carriers, and more particularly, how they stop so quickly. Our field reporter Peggy Knapp joined the Navy for a few days in order to find out.
This is our destination, a collection of technology so complex it can take as many as 5,000 crew members to run it. But if you want to sail on one of these huge ships, getting aboard takes more than just walking across a gangplank.
958 on deck. Aircraft carriers go out to sea for up to 6 months at a time. So if you want to visit one for just a couple of days, you have to take an aircraft to the carrier. We came to Norfolk, the world's largest naval base, to hitch a ride.
Now the problem is that when you land on a carrier, you don't get a nice runway like this. You get a tiny patch like this, less than 10% as big and about 100 times scarier.
And our plane will hit the deck at 120 miles an hour.
The whole concept makes me a little nervous. How do these planes manage to stop on such a short runway? Even more important, how do they do it safely?
I asked Lieutenant Kelly Jones about her carrier pilot training.
Yes, we're always doing practice training missions, practice carrier landings.
Kelly took me to a transport and showed me what brings it to a quick stop, the tail hook.
That's it?
That's our tail hook.
That's going to stop this aircraft?
Yes, it sure is.
How much weight are we throwing against this hook when we theoretically stop?
Well, 49,000 pounds.
Why doesn't it just rip it out of the back? It looks very small to be trusting this whole airplane to.
Stressed for that, and even a little bit more for a safety margin.
Kelly says this thing is actually twice as strong as it needs to be. Here's how it works. Approaching the runway at 120 miles per hour, the pilot lowers the tail hook to snag an 1.5 inch thick cable strung across the carrier runway.
And remember, the carrier is far out at sea. This runway is always moving forward and often pitching up and down. Under these conditions, does the tail hook always work?
Well, the system is good, but this black and white Navy tape shows what can happen if a pilot loses the wire before it stops the plane. What looks like an explosion is actually the pilot ejecting to safety before the plane rolls off the deck into the ocean. Obviously, you want to practice a carrier landing before you try the real thing. But how? Well, Kelly took me to a simulator to find out.
You're the co-pilot, I'll be the pilot.
Man, they give you a lot of room, don't they?
Yeah.
The cramped cockpit was lit for the toughest carrier approach of all, a night landing.
Okay, let me do your landing checks.
Everything is very realistic, from the controls
Power lever lock.
Whoa, okay.
to the carrier out the window.
Is that it?
That's the ship. That's what the ship looks like at night.
It's a speck.
It's a little speck in a big ocean.
The view is like the best video game you ever saw. It's supplied to the cockpit by those computers on our right, which are hooked to TV monitors and reflected into the cockpit by mirrors.
And here we go.
Kelly took the controls and showed me how to touch down so that our tailhook catches the cable.
And we're about right on glide slope, lined up a little left.
She concentrated on her glide slope. That's keeping your plane the right height above the ship.
We're almost there, coming down. Center ball, and looks like we caught a 2-wire.
What did I just see? What are all these things you're looking at?
Kelly says the main thing she's looking at is her glide slope, the angle she descends toward the ship. She gets that right by following a light called a meatball on the carrier deck. A pilot also must watch her center line, whether she's too far to the left or right. After all, you don't want to hit anything on deck. Finally, she adjusts her angle of attack, pointing the nose of her plane up so the tail hook is pointing down and can catch an arresting wire.
Meatball lineup, angle of attack. Meatball lineup, angle of attack. Right.
After we recited the landing checklist, Kelly let me try a simulated approach.
And here we go.
As soon as I touched the wheel, things went wrong.
See, pull back.
First, I concentrated on getting the meatball centered.
Come left a little.
Come left a little. Oh, we're veering all over the sky.
Only my center line had gone out of whack.
Go back on center line.
And it worked pretty much like that all the way down.
Way over there.
Or a little left. Okay, don't overcorrect.
Yeah, body language doesn't work, does it?
There we go.
Now we're off center line.
Oh.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Full power. Please go to full power. Well, that didn't work out so well.
Kelly reassured me that even though my attempted landing wasn't pretty, we wouldn't have crashed into the sea. That's because, like any well-trained carrier pilot, we went to full power as soon as we touched the deck. Going to full power on landing may seem to defy common sense, but it does allow any pilot who misses all the arresting wires to fly safely right off the other side of the ship.
Put this on just for protection for your ears.
Now it's time for the real thing, a flight to a carrier.
I feel like a bug.
On board this transport, there are hardly any windows, and the noise makes it tough to talk.
What am I doing here? I don't even like roller coasters.
I waited as our plane navigated over 40 miles of open ocean to find my home for the next 2 days, the USS Eisenhower. I knew we were getting close to landing when a warning light went on. Just as we had in the simulator, the pilot turned the plane toward the carrier runway. This was the real thing. After the turn, we braced for landing. A camera in the flight deck recorded our plane's approach. On board, you can't see what's happening. Passengers fly blind. Because the plane approaches the runway at such a steep angle, pilots call it a car wreck when they hit the deck.
Man, that'll shake that teeth out of your head.
The car wreck was a real jolt, but after that, the arresting cable pulled the plane to a smooth stop, like being slowed by a giant rubber band. So I was here and I was in one piece. We'll explore the inner workings of an aircraft carrier in just a moment.
does it smell like just before it rains?
Depends on what city you're in, I think.
Dirty feet.
Dog. Wet dog.
Ever hear the saying, smells like rain's a-coming? That's the smell of rotting vegetation and the perfume of flowers. Just before a rainstorm, the low air pressure allows these smells to rise up to mix with the air, right about nose level.
Street smart.
An aircraft carrier might look small while you're up in the air trying to land on one, but standing here on the deck, it's a completely different story. This is really a floating city, longer than 3 football fields.
A carrier's main job is launching and catching planes. Just beneath the deck, 1.5-inch cables are attached to a heavy piston. Whenever a plane lands, the cable pulls the piston through hydraulic fluid, and it's the hydraulic pressure that stops the plane. But it takes both technology and people to bring planes in safely.
Keep him honest on the center line, on this crosshair right here. Just let me know if he drifts right or left.
Landing Officer Neil May showed me how to guide a pilot in.
If you see anything unsafe, just go ahead and hit the wave-off light.
Sure, okay.
Here goes. Roger, Bob.
Ground controllers watch incoming aircraft on a television screen. My job was to warn the pilot if he strayed too far from the center line. Lucky for both of us, he didn't need any coaching.
Not bad, not bad.
That's all right.
You're good.
Thank you.
Of course, any airport with 80 planes has its own control tower
989 on deck.
and traffic managers who try to figure out where to put aircraft on this 4.5-acre parking lot.
Like I say, 4.5 acres, but it gets real small when you get 55, 58 airplanes up here. Real small.
One of the most prominent features on a carrier is the captain's bridge. It's also one of the most technologically advanced parts of the ship. Navigation here is by satellite, with updated positions coming in once every second.
Bearing 035.
Raise average coolant temperature to 510 degrees.
The commander of all this technology is Captain Mark Gemmel. As captain, he's responsible for a ship that has many times the firepower of a World War II carrier.
Our job really is to avoid war. The only other half of our training that we do is if we're forced into fighting, we want to strike so hard and so powerfully that the conflict is over very quickly with minimal casualties on our side.
There are low-tech concerns aboard the Eisenhower as well. A single nut or bolt left on deck can be blown about with lethal force. So each morning, the crew of the ship walks down the deck to sweep it clean of all debris. Knowing the deck was clear made me feel better because it was time for my final adventure aboard the Eisenhower, a catapult takeoff. That's a takeoff where a plane gets hooked up to a sort of high-tech slingshot in the deck and is catapulted from 0 to 150 miles an hour in about 2 seconds. Unlike the pilot of that F-18, I'd be seated backwards inside my plane. It's the safest way you can sit. If there's an unexpected stop, you'd get pressed into your seat. A final rev of the engines, and we braced for takeoff. A visit to this floating city may rattle you some, but it shows an aircraft carrier is a complex mix of science, technology, and teamwork.
Got a question? Write to Newton's Apple at 172 East 4th Street, Box 1200, St. Paul, Minnesota 55101. You can also send us an email message at the University of Minnesota, newtons.apple@umn.edu. Or look us up on your favorite online service.
Welcome to this week's Science Try It. You'll have to listen in on today's game. Our players include a metal spoon, some kite string, and the edge of a table.
And there's the whistle.
And the string has been looped around the metal spoon and now is winding around the index fingers.
And it looks like those index fingers are being placed in 2 ears.
Now the spoon is being banged against the side of that table. Just listen to it clank.
Oh.
But wait, a timeout's been called. Let's go to the Super Science Breakdown.
All sounds are produced by vibrations. The sound of the clanking spoon makes the air molecules vibrate, carrying sound waves to your ear. Vibrations are able to go through other things like the string. But if your ears are blocked, then it's harder to hear the sounds transmitted by the air.
So, will the vibrations travel right through the string and into your fingers so they can be heard by the ear?
To find out, you'll have to try it!
No, this contraption is not a vintage hairdryer. This is a phrenology machine, and it's being operated by my friend Bob McCoy. 70 years ago, people believed this machine could measure the bumps on your head and determine how your brain worked. Even told you something about your personality. What's it say, Bob?
It says, David, you're a pretty suave young man.
Gee, thanks, Bob. Today, researchers studying the brain have a greater understanding of this fascinating and mysterious organ that allows me to appreciate the smell of a rose, argue with Peggy, or better yet, scale the side of a mountain. Here to provide us with an inside look at the human brain is our resident medical expert, Dr. Bruce Dan.
Hi, David.
Hi, Bruce. Welcome back.
Good to see you.
All right, fella. What's the secret? What's going on inside my brain?
I have no earthly idea,
Oh,
David.
boy. Well, neither do I.
But I can tell you one thing. Your brain is working furiously right now. Every second, it's processing billions of bits of information.
You mean just standing here? I'm really not trying to concentrate or anything.
You may not think so, but from the top of your head to the tip of your toe, it's processing information. Matter of fact, it's the master control center of the body. It probably performs the ultimate juggling act. Matter of fact, speaking of juggling.
Oh, look at that.
David, I'd like you to meet Bill Wired, who is doing some fancy flame throwing at the moment.
He sure is. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Thank you.
I'm going to stand back here, stay out of the fire.
You know, Bill is doing more than just juggling those flaming batons. He's juggling information in his brain.
Bill, you make it look so easy. I can't believe it. I don't think I could juggle even 2 of those, let alone if they were lit with fire.
Well, try with the bean bags.
Oh, something a little safer, huh?
Yeah, just do what I do.
Yeah.
This ought to be
right. Just do what I do. Okay. All right, there goes.
That's good. I've been practicing a lot longer than you have. I've been training my brain.
What do you mean training your brain?
Well, you know, David, anytime someone practices juggling, I've practiced a little bit, not as much as Bill, you're training and laying down memory pathways in the brain.
You're pretty good, actually.
Well, thanks a lot. I've practiced a little bit. Matter of fact, you know, you have to use different parts of your brain when you juggle.
David, right here I'm juggling a model of the brain. And to help you see how the parts fit together, let's trade. Ready?
Trade? Oh, I get it. Trade.
Oh,
all right. I got one more left.
One more.
Oh.
Good.
Oh,
try putting those together.
Ah, a puzzle, huh? Okay. So these are basically the physical parts of the brain, huh?
Right. You've started to structure the brain. You have a whole brain there in your hand.
There it is. Sort of a model of the human brain, huh?
Right. Although that's the structural components. Actually, we usually talk about the brain as its functional components, what it actually does. And for example, I've color-coded this model here for you. The back of the brain, this green area, we call the visual cortex. That allows the body and the brain to see and track objects. For example, very much like the objects, the clubs that Bill has to see and track when he juggles.
You wouldn't want to juggle in the dark, would you?
No, I guess not, no.
How about the movement? I mean, look at some of this sophisticated, yeah, like...
It's very impressive, and that's all coordinated and done by this area of the brain called the motor cortex, which actually is in charge of all the movements of the body.
So does that do even the little fine motor movements like, you know, blinking eyes?
That's very difficult, and that's done in this area called the cerebellum here, and has to go through all the coordination that Bill is going through right now.
How about the routine of the whole show?
Well, that's an intellectual process, obviously, and all the intellectual functions are done in this part of the brain called the frontal cortex. That's the most highly developed part of the brain that has to do with emotion and thoughts and logic and calculation.
Is that where we talk about sort of left brain or right brain differences?
We have 2 hemispheres in the brain, the right and the left hemisphere, and I guess in juggling, Bill's probably using right and left, don't you think?
I would guess so. He's probably using everything you can get. Huh? How about just basic memory? I mean, in order to memorize the whole spiel.
That's a routine he has to keep in mind, and that's a good way of saying it, and that's done here in the temporal lobe, this yellow part of the brain. All our memories of old jokes, music, childhood memories, all stored in that part of the brain.
You know what's amazing is that you have these various physical parts of the brain, which is just basic anatomy, I guess. And then you have, what do you refer to these
That's
as?
the functional units.
Functional parts of the brain. All of those parts have to be coordinated and work together. How do they do that?
Well, that's done by the nerve cells in the brain. There are 10 billion of those nerve cells. We call them neurons.
So what actually is a neuron doing in the brain?
Well, come over here and let me show you. David, have a seat.
Oh, wow. Now, what is this? This is actually a neuron, huh?
Well, not an actual live neuron, but it's a computer simulation of a real neuron in the brain. And scientists use powerful computer simulations like this to explore and investigate how nerve fibers actually work.
So you're saying that this whole thing is just a single cell?
It is a single cell. Nerve fibers themselves, nerve cells are some of the longest cells in the body. This is the cell body itself with the nucleus in it. And these branch-like structures, those are called dendrites. Those are the communication channels of a nerve.
Bruce, what's going on when it, when it does that, when it flashes with light?
Looks like a lightning flash, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, actually, there are electrical activity. The cell discharges an electric signal, which travels down these dendrites, and that's how nerve cells communicate with each other.
Wait a minute, back up again. How do they communicate again?
Well, to understand that, we have to go to a communications workshop. Hit that button.
Okay. Hey, Bruce.
Hey,
Bruce, you
Dave.
in here?
Yeah.
You call this a communications workshop?
What can I say, Dave? It's the 90s. Everybody's got a workshop.
Where are we?
Well, from the looks of things, I'd say we're somewhere in the cortex of the brain.
Man, this place is jam-packed. Are these things neurons?
Exactly.
Oh, hey, I see you got one of those outfits, too.
It takes a lot of nerve to wear one of these, doesn't it?
I'll sit. So what's going on in here?
Actually, David, you're watching the inner workings of the brain's communication network. Trillions of electrical signals are going on each and every second.
Really? Trillions of messages every second? You know, Bruce, I can see the signals traveling from the dendrites of one neuron to the dendrites of another neuron. Look at that. I guess you're right. Neurons are constantly receiving and sending messages.
As a matter of fact, if you look way up there, some messages are being sent down dendrites from one neuron down to neurons in this layer right here.
So, Bruce, how many messages can one neuron handle?
Well, about 50,000. Watch this. Dave, what you're looking at are all the electrical impulses that are going on through a neuron.
So each of the neuron cells generates its own electricity?
Sure, and the brain itself generates enough electricity to light a 25-watt bulb.
Now, wait a minute, Bruce, a 25-watt bulb, that's sort of dim in my book. Are you making a comment about my brain power?
No comments about your brightness, David. It's just that the brain is so efficient. Our supercomputer is so good, it takes a minimal amount of electricity to make it work.
By the way, what is this thing around my arm?
Ah, that little tree-like structure, it's called an axon.
So the electric impulse travels down this axon, gets to the end, then what happens?
Well, actually, at that point, it changes from an electrical signal to a chemical signal. A substance called a neurotransmitter is released. So the neurotransmitter goes across from this axon to your neuron, stimulates it, electric signal is again produced, and travels down the other axon.
So the way this works is it starts out as an electrical message inside the neuron somewhere, travels down the axon, converts to a chemical message.
Right.
So the two cells never touch.
There's a small gap called a synapse.
Okay, and then that converts chemically over to the next cell, starts up another electrical message, that goes down an axon, the whole thing goes on over and over again.
Sort of like a repetitive relay station on a communications network, right?
Wow, it's very complex. Altogether, these trillions of neurons, or brain cells, form an unbelievably complex communications network. Well, the brain really is a lot like a very powerful computer, isn't it?
Even more so, David. The brain can grow, it can evolve, it can change. Each neuron itself is like a supercomputer.
And how many neurons were there in the brain again?
10 billion neurons. You have as many when you're born as you have right now.
So we cannot grow new brain cells during our lifespan?
Right. If a brain cell dies, it never grows back.
Wow. You know, we hear a lot about the power of the human brain. How much of our brain are we really using?
Well, we have a real brain here. Nobody knows how much, David, but it's not how many neurons you have, it's how many you use.
This is a real human brain here. Man, look at that. It is phenomenal, isn't it? It's
amazing.
It's sort of engaged in the ultimate juggling act, 24 hours a day, your entire lifespan. So, Bruce, how does the brain take all that chemical and sort of electrical activity and convert it to basic human activity like running and thinking and singing?
Well, neuroscientists are looking into that right now, and hopefully soon we'll have the answer to your question.
a minute. Tell me something. Do you know what animal has the largest brain? Wait a minute.
Whales have the largest brain.
Think about this. The whale brain weighs 20 pounds, but the total weight of the whale is often 4,000 pounds, and sometimes even more.
Well, you know, the average human brain weighs about 2 to 3 pounds.
However, you have to look at the total body weight of the average human.
The average human weighs between 100 and 200 pounds.
When you're talking about brain power, you need to look at the ratio.
Yeah, the ratio between the weight of the brain and the weight of the body.
Do a little math. Bigger doesn't mean better.
That's all the time we have. We'll see you next week on Newton's Apple.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! Wait a minute!
Newton's Apple is made possible by a grant from 3M and its employees. Creative people who put science to work for you. 3M, innovation.
This is PBS.
You're watching member-supported Georgia Public Television, GPTV.
Women's health. It's much more than just reproductive health. Many diseases affect women differently than men, but most of our current health information comes from studies conducted only on men. We need more research on women to better understand how to keep us healthy, and we need a healthcare system that is more responsive to women's unique needs. Because a woman's health affects everyone's health.
Focus on Women's Health is a community project of Georgia Public Television with support provided by Solvay Pharmaceuticals and DeKalb Medical Center.
I will be reducing the extent of the public life I've led so far.
Away from the glamour and fame, witness the difficult transformation of a young fairy tale princess into a modern single mother of the 90s.
Diana's a classic example of somebody actually who has matured through suffering.
Discover Diana, a princess alone. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis was an American treasure. We adored her, grieved with her, and recorded her every move. But far away from the camera's flash lived a private woman who silently endured the loss of children, her husband's indiscretions, and his violent death. Still, she went on to live life on her own terms. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, an intimate portrait. Natalie Wood was a movie star, one of the few child actors who made it. From Miracle on 34th Street, to Rebel Without a Cause, to West Side Story, her beauty, energy, and glamour lit up the screen until her tragic death. A tribute...
ABS and seatbelt pretensioners, but you're less likely to need them if you see the light.
Will gets busted.
We're looking for your nephew.
It's over! It's all over! On the next Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
7 o'clock tomorrow night on Fox 36.
What do you want?
What do you got?